Hey guys, let's talk about this big time matchup with the Cowboys coming up Sunday afternoon. For those of you watching on YouTube, this is the Out of Breath Arm Sword Packer Minute, the show where I walk around the neighborhood talking about the Packers and you watch to see if I get scorched by a Firebird. For those watching on Facebook, this is in lieu of my morning live show, which Facebook is refusing to let me run with right now. And if you're watching this on greenbaypackernation.com, hey, buy a t-shirt while you're on. All right, guys, it's a big time matchup coming up. The Cowboys, probably a little less intense than maybe we would have thought before the year began, with the Cowboys coming out to a lackluster start and now this past Sunday losing to the Rams. But it is opening the door for an opportunity for the Green Bay Packers to go 4-1. Right now, tied with the Detroit Lions atop the NFC North at 3-1, but to move into this second quarter of play perhaps a bit healthier, we'll talk about that, but definitely to move ahead of yet another one of the premier teams in the NFC right now. So we've gotten thus far, we've gotten a division rival game under our belt against the Bears last Thursday. We've got an uncommon opponent in the Cincinnati Bengals that we took care of the week before that. Of course, we have still been unable thus far to defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the last 3 games now. But the Falcons falling to Buffalo helps us out a great deal, and they fell to Buffalo at home, which makes it even sweeter. And as we know, the season opener against Seattle, Seattle has been a bit up against the ropes, but one of the things we were afraid was that was because Seattle couldn't score. Well, the fact of the matter is, Seattle definitely can score, we see now. And so that's yet another NFC rival that drops to the Packers, even though they as a matter of fact, won this past Sunday. So the Packers are in as good a shape as you can possibly be in terms of standings, and that becomes particularly important in light of the kind of shape we are in terms of injuries. As a Packer team that has yet to field its starting offensive line, we've seen Jordy Nelson go out in an important game along with Mike Daniels, and we've gotten Jordy back. We haven't been able to get Daniels back just yet. Perhaps he can come back this week. This, to my mind, I don't know how you're thinking of it, but this, to my mind, is perhaps the game where there can be just a little bit of a turning point, and perhaps we can start to get some people healthy. Now, at the end of the Thursday night game against the Bears, it didn't seem like that was going to be the case because we saw Davante Adams with a vicious hit by the now suspended and appealing the suspension Danny Trevathan, and we also saw Ty Montgomery go out of that one. We've still got House dinged up. It just looked awful, but it seemed, and then add to that Jamal Williams with the knee injury. It really took the wind out of the sails of what would have been a really great victory, but then the next morning kind of getting better than expected news. Number one, with Davante Adams, the hit from Trevathan, number one, that he's alive, like he's functional, like he's not going to be physically affected for the rest of his life was good news. Number two, that he is not going to, his career would not be cut short by this injury. And then to find out that, yes, he's in concussion protocol, but he quickly was able to get out of the hospital, was feeling a bit froggy enough to give the nurses a little bit of a tough time, which is always a good sign to me. And while I don't in any way, I don't even want him, I want him to take this week off after taking that hit anyway, but he's in concussion protocol, so now it will all be in terms of how he makes his goals to get back on the field. And gosh, really felt like we dodged a bullet in that game. I mean, with the guys that went out and how they went out, in particular Davante Adams, it just looked so bad. But it's a little brighter than we thought, and it makes it possible that this Sunday afternoon's matchup with the Cowboys may be a game in which maybe we see Mike Daniels get back on the field after a few weeks off. If we can get Daniels, Bakhtiari, and Bulaga back, we will for the first time see our offensive line on the board and our defense now with Mike Daniels and Kevin King really in the pole position at the perimeter corner spot. If Devon House comes back, we're going to get a snapshot of what this defense can be, and for the first time, I think, what this offense can be. Look at the adjustments that have had to be made game in and game out to try to protect Aaron Rodgers and to try to protect the people that protect Aaron Rodgers. We've had to move guys around on the O-line, And the O-line receiving a game ball after the Chicago Bears game, in which, it wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. We did give up a couple of deep sacks, but hey, they got the job done, and the Packers overall with a convincing win, putting up 35 points on the Bears. That's no laughing matter, because that's a pretty good defense that we were facing in that situation. It's a beautiful day, by the way. I'm gonna swing you around for a minute. Just spent the weekend up in Wisconsin. Got to see the Bears game, got to see the Badgers Big Ten opener against Northwestern. Everybody won. Then on the way back, Atlanta falls to Buffalo, and the Cowboys go down to the Rams. Really helped that trip out, I must say. And now we got to keep it going. Like I said, the door is open, but there's no room for the Packers to stumble right now. We have to take advantage of this because, again, we lost head-to-head to the Atlanta Falcons. So if this comes down to a tie, we're going to be playing at their place. And so we're going to be looking for the Falcons to maybe drop another while the Packers continue to have success regardless of the injury situation. And that brings me to probably one of I think this is going to be talked about a lot this week. And I just have the question, is Zeke Elliott the nitro buster? If you had a nitro package that like we've put in and we've had some success with it, you could tell that in the Seattle game we used it a lot to kind of see what we had against bigger, more bruising backs, and had some success to the tune of, the Seattle Seahawks never got in the end zone in that game. They only kicked field goals. But if you were going to pick a team that had a nitro buster, that would be the Cowboys, not just because they have Zeke Elliott, but because they have such a fantastic offensive line. This was not the case, remember, with Seattle. They had the backs. They had the style of backs that would look like your nitro busting back, but they did not have an offensive line. Their offensive line is in shambles. And this week 5 matchup, this is the one here, guys. A little bit of Frogger going on. Bloop, 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 bloop. This is the matchup where the nitro package, I'd expect to see the Packers in a little more of their regular base formation. I expect to see more of Jake Ryan in this game. However, I would not be surprised if we don't get Morgan Burnett, maybe a little Josh Jones down there, because we can certainly get an idea of what this nitro package can be if we can handle a guy like Zeke Elliott and still be able to handle Jason Witten coming out of the backfield, or Zeke Elliott, because remember, Zeke Elliott is not just a good running back. One of his best traits is what he does when he does not have the ball in his hands. Keep that in mind. I think this is going to be a big test. All right, guys, I'm in the outdoor office, by the way, so I thought I would just swing you around with Buffalo Mountain behind me. It's a beautiful day. It's idyllic fall weather. Wisconsin was gorgeous. My voice has still not come completely back, but it is just beautiful. And here, the walnuts are falling. So if I get clocked on the head, that'll just add a little entertainment value. So I think we'll see more of Jake Ryan, who I think is beginning to come on strong. He had the fumble recovery after the Clay Matthews sack fumble in the Bears game. And listen, this Blake Martinez kid, throw it in the comments below. Pat yourself on the back if you've been in Blake Martinez's corner the whole time. He came out really strong as a rookie, and then they had to kind of back him off a little bit. They had given him the mic, the communication device. They had to kind of back him off a little bit. And then there were some injuries, both he and Ryan. Blake Martinez, leading tackler on the team right now. And how important is that? Now, one of the things I've said is that I was as yet unconvinced that the Packers have their answer at inside linebacker. And listen, Blake Martinez, he was a little longer guy. He wasn't quite as stocky, and he may fit the bill. I mean, we know that guys like Josh Jones and guys like Morgan Burnett are going to be playing in that opposite spot in the nitro package, and they really have already. We've seen how much that has helped us against guys like Jimmy Graham, and we'll hopefully see help against guys like Jason Witten coming up this Sunday. But let's not forget Blake Martinez, because he's a guy that suffered a little criticism after he came out so strong. And remember, when Martinez was drafted, he wasn't drafted that high, I think 5th round. He was expected to be a guy who could cover out of the backfield, and that became kind of an Achilles heel for him. He wasn't that great at it. Joe Thomas sort of taking over that role, but listen, this Blake Martinez kid, he's smart. His study habits are off the charts. and he's finally getting some attention. Couldn't be happier for Blake coming in, and Coach McCarthy talking about him as one of the guys that's made the leap. So how important could that be for our chances down the road? So Blake Martinez, a big time thumbs up for him and the way he's played early in the season. This will again be a big test. We've had a little bit of trouble, particularly in that nitro package. From time to time, the backside gap fill has been a little, we got smaller bodies, we got guys that are new to it, especially if you got your Josh Jones in there. The run fits are going to be a little bit difficult. But guys like Martinez apparently are really helping that out. And the thing that I think is one of his most important characteristics, I haven't necessarily heard anybody talk about this, so I don't know, but I believe that Blake Martinez is a great communicator back there. And that is a sign to me of a great leader. And he's following it up now with his play because he is able to play faster and not have to think so much. So I think we've got some really good things coming out of Blake Martinez, and I do think we'll see him quite a bit from here on out. Opposite him, like I said, Jake Ryan, a little more stocky, stout, ILB, sort of old school ILB is almost what we're going to call it now, because this whole nitro hybrid safety thing is getting more and more popular with the way that the league is moving to a passing league. So great job by Blake Martinez. I look for a big game out of Jake Ryan. We'll probably see some Joe Thomas. I guess he goes in the dime now. But will this nitro package hold up? It's going to be a big test. I think these guys are ready for it. I think Josh Jones is ready for more and more reps. We saw the interceptions come back with Bryce and getting 2 picks on Mike Glennon. Remember, these things tend to come in bunches. We're starting to perhaps come together. And listen, if you're like me now, you are much more comfortable and confident with Kevin King. I mean, week 1, if Kevin King were to roll out as a starting perimeter guy, I'd have been like, well, keep my eye on this kid. I really like him. He's got the physicals, but we haven't seen anything just yet. Well, now Kevin King has gotten some very meaningful reps in, and I feel comfortable with King matching up against Dez Bryant for the whole game. Now, we don't know if Devon House can start, how they're going to handle that whole situation, but if we can get King on Dez Bryant and let Devon House, if he's healthy, play the opposite perimeter, and to be quite honest, if House can't play the opposite perimeter role, I'm more confident in Hawkins than I am in either Rollins or Randall right now. Randall is in the doghouse. He better be anyway, after his little rant on the sidelines, argument with the coaches, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure that they've worked all that out, and they're going to need to, because they're going to need Randall. I don't think we can afford to just get rid of him. But I love this Hawkins kid. He wasn't the topic of a lot of discussion, and part of the reason for that is because Josh Hawkins does not fit the prototypical Packer cornerback height. So that is the 6-foot range, the 5'11", 6-foot minimum that kind of came around way back in the Wolf era. However, we also know that sometimes it's best to break the rules, and a guy like Sam Shields, who was also a short corner but had blazing speed. Listen, I think most of us remember Sam Shields had a pretty good career as a Packer. And Hawkins, guys, is a 4.39 40 guy. We now have, so let's list this out. We now have Kevin King, perimeter corner at a 4.4 speed. We have Josh Jones, 4.4 speed. We have Josh Hawkins, 4.4 speed that can go out. This kid, keep your eye out for him. I think he took advantage of his opportunity. I believe he had 2 pass breakups in this game and really took the reins. I love it. I think he is showing himself with, as experience comes on, if he becomes a guy who can make a second-year leap like Randall and Rollins apparently either refused to or failed to do, this guy could be a player for us for a very long time. And a good one. Remember, nobody had any complaints about Sam Shields' height when he got on the field and played, and I think that's kind of the situation. I'm not saying that he's the next Sam Shields, but what I'm saying is he has a lot of those characteristics, and he took a step. He had to get his reps through injury. There was just no other way. Packers spent a 1st-round draft pick on Randall, a 2nd-round draft pick on Rollins. This kid is an undrafted free agent. He's got to get in there because of injury. Or in this case, because of a benching, when Randall gets sent to the freaking locker room because he can't handle himself like an adult. which I guess he barely is. He's probably only 25 years old. But this is a big opportunity. This is a kid I'm keeping my eye on because, remember, we bring in Devon House, we draft Kevin King, and within that mix, we're looking for a replacement for Sam Shields. Just think, guys, if this Packer team gets a replacement for Sam Shields out of a guy like Josh Hawkins, I mean, it would be off the charts. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. There's still a lot to happen, but we've seen how even guys with less physical skill, remember, Ladarius Gunter had no speed whatsoever. But the Packers were playing him. He was a number 4 cornerback at best. The Packers were able to play him as a number 1, and from time to time, he had some success. Guys like Sam Shields came in undrafted. These are guys that were not supposed to have necessarily a chance, and became a Pro Bowler. So I'm going to have my eye on Hawkins in this one. I hope he gets more reps. I think between him and Rollins right now, we'll be able to toe the line at least. And I'm just pulling for Hawkins to get some more reps. I really like how he played. And that's going to be important. If we can tone down Des Bryant, we can tone down Cole Beasley, and we can take care of Jason Witten, who is now getting up there, and he's getting a little long a tooth. This Packer team has a great chance against the Cowboys come Sunday afternoon. This is a team that prides itself on stopping the run. It's always priority 1 for every team, for every defensive coordinator. It's not going to be completely possible to shut Zeke Elliott down, I don't think, especially if we're rolling out a nitro package. And because of the fact that Zeke Elliott can do a lot of different things, but he's great in pass protection and also their offensive line being so good. It's going to be a challenge still. But I think Elliott had, and I don't have the stats in front of you, I believe he had about 86 yards against the Rams. They were able to keep him under wraps for the most part. And then he had about 4 catches, if I remember right. If the Packers can keep him in that kind of range, remember last year, week 6, I think it was last year, Zeke Elliott really went off on us because the Packers offense was not really rolling. I mean, Eddie Lacy was playing good. We were having a decent ground game, but things were just not rolling for us. And the Cowboys were able to just ground and pound, and when you do that, defense inevitably gets tired, especially when the offense stumbles. So we're looking for the offense to continue with this, continue scoring, for crying out loud. We've got to get out there, do that meticulous drive right off the bat. That's the one that is most likely scripted almost in its entirety. We need that 7 points right off the bat, that fast start, and we need to make sure that we extend drives, which means, you know, this is a Packer team that's going to need to run the ball. Now, we don't know the status of Ty Montgomery at this point, but listen, this Cowboys defense is literally the worst defense we've faced so far. And if Sean Lee can't play again, if Chidobe Awuzie can't play again, that'll make it very interesting, folks. But this defense, remember, you know, this offense has had its struggles so far this season. We've had times where, you know, we've just not been in sync. Aaron Rodgers holding the ball. We're looking at an offensive line that's going to struggle against some very good defensive fronts. And one of the things, and, you know, I hate to jinx us, but one of the things is that this Cowboys defense, again, and we all know this to be fact, this is not the best defense that we've faced so far. Now, last year, they kind of played out of their heads, I think. I think they kind of outkicked their coverage in terms of being better than there's a little synergy there or something going on. This year, we're seeing this is not the same team. Many people in Packer Nation were calling for it. You know, now Dak Prescott, for his part, in the game against the Rams, he threw 3 touchdown passes, and I think he threw for 285 yards. He threw for almost 300 yards. So he was doing his due diligence. And the Rams have a good defense, but I think our defense can match up against the Cowboys right now, especially if Hawkins continues to perform and we're able to play that nitro package, get this team into obvious and required passing downs, those 3rd and longs. I would expect the Cowboys, I mean, we know the Cowboys are they're going to have to lean on Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. I think Bryant becoming kind of Dak Prescott's favorite receiver right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see kind of a relief valve in Jason Witten start to come into the game plan. But Zeke Elliott and that O-line, we're going to have to take advantage. And that tells me that it is very important that the Packers, now again, only if he's 100% healthy, but just think how important it would be if the Packers could get back Mike Daniels this week. I think that would be fantastic. I think it would make me feel a lot more comfortable in a game in which an offense is going to want to ground and pound. And we've had our struggles with that in the past. So it's set up to be a pretty good matchup. I think the door is open for the Packers to start to really take the lead in the NFC, up there with the Detroit Lions in the NFC North. Perhaps, I don't know who the Lions play this week, but the Lions, maybe due to drop one at some point here. And then, of course, the Atlanta Falcons. And other than that, the Eagles looking like the best team in the NFC East, which is a bit of a surprise. If the Packers can put the Cowboys down, and they can do it, this will be yet another game where an NFC powerhouse loses in their own field, on their own field at Arlington. What an important step in a Packers season in which we have some pretty high expectations, as always. Playoffs are kind of our baseline right now, and while that is, we are very, very spoiled to have that situation, but that's the situation. And Packers with an opportunity coming into this second quarter to really start making a difference. So I look for Aaron Rodgers to have a really good game. We have one of the things we've seen, Ty Montgomery has been a really good red zone threat. We have, from time to time, you've seen that we're trying to run the ball more, but you can very much see this is still Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson offense, and without Devontae Adams, we're going to need Randall Cobb in this one. Martellus Bennett coming on strong in the Bears game, and we're going to need him more, and as well as Lance Kendricks. And we'll see what Aaron Jones can do. I'm expecting, regardless, that Aaron Jones has bought himself some reps, and I'm excited to see what he can do. His quickness, we've talked about his explosion, his spark score being off the charts before the season began and shortly after the draft, and now we're seeing it play out on the field. He's got some wiggle, and yet he's also got some explosion, some power, and some drive. So I think he could be a serviceable backup if both Ty Montgomery and Jamal Williams can't play. So we'll see. I'm expecting Aaron Rodgers to have yet another fantastic day, and I really feel like the Packers are confident playing the Cowboys in Arlington, especially after the division round win last year. And the traffic is getting really loud because I'm coming out to the main highway. So I'm going to let you guys go for now. I thought I'd get on since I wasn't able to on Facebook this morning and do a little Packer talk, because I know you guys miss it. I miss it too. And we'll see what happens with Facebook and when they get things all figured out. And when they do, I will talk to you then. All right, guys, enjoy the week. We'll talk to you again soon. Go Pack.
Packer Nation worldwide.